Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you today? Very good. All right. Today we're looking at a very important topic, and this is also good for you as English major students. And this has to do with narrative paragraph. As you will see in your writing in different courses that you will study, you will be reading a lot of literature works, a lot of literary works, and you will be doing critiques and things like that on different novels, different plays, and different short stories, and so on. And it is also a kind of important topic that you will be doing as part of your academic study, and this has to do with narrative writing. What is narrative? Narrative is basically storytelling. Is that right? Yes, it's about sardiya, we call it in Arabic. It's sard, or nass sardi. So it is about narrative paragraph. So it's about storytelling in other words. So narratives tell stories. So everyone has, of course, of us read a story, told a story about something, watched something on television, watched a story or something on television, or heard them from friends or classmates or family members, and so on. So basically a narrative paragraph, and here we're focusing on a narrative paragraph writing, tells a short story or describes a sequence of events. In other words, a narrative tells a story about a personal memory, a personal experience, and so on. So it is important that we actually zoom in on this type of paragraph writing and do some practice in this, because this is also, it needs a skill, but also as well it needs talent and experience and training and everything that we can think of. Alright, let's look at this. These two lists of things and say what would make a good story and what would not make a good story, what would make a good narrative and what wouldn't. Let's look at these ones. Good choice for a story is a house fire. A good story or good choice for a story is a car accident, a death, or getting lost somewhere, or a scary time, or a beautiful time in one's life, and so on. Whereas here, bad choice for a story, getting out of bed, eating dinner, meeting your friend, and so on. Why these topics are good narrative topics, whereas these ones are not good really narrative topics? Why does this not make doesn't make a good story, a good topic for a story? Getting out of bed. Yes, please.
Because they are boring things that happen in daily life, and the reader won't be interested in knowing what will happen.
Very nice, very nice. Anything else? Basically, yes, because these are some very common, mundane, ordinary things that happen every day. So there is nothing interesting about reading about them. There is nothing interesting about writing about them. Every day we get out of bed, every day we eat dinner, or we meet friends or family members, and so on. These are, so they are not good because they are not interesting. They are very usual, mundane things in life. Whereas these ones do not happen every day. Okay? And sometimes there are serious things that happen in our life. And therefore, a good choice for a narrative is one that is interesting. Basically, something interesting. Always keep in mind, how can I make the reader interested in this? Would this be interesting for the reader? And this is really the crux of every story. At the heart of every story is something attractive, something interesting that you want to tell the reader about. Okay? Alright, so a personal narrative or a personal story is generally something that really happened. Okay, so it's about a true story. We see a lot of films on TV that says based on a true story. So we always see it. So generally, and this is something that people are generally interested in. They are not really interested in something fictional, but they are or imaginative. But they are interested in something that is based on real life situations, real life experiences. Okay, so a good story is one that makes the reader think or feel about the situation being written about. So it is, if you succeed in making the reader feel as if you were, or as if he or she is in the story, that would be good writing good narrative writing. So a story that shows strong emotions and strong feelings. Remember when we talked about descriptive writing, we said a good story is one that, or good writing is one that paints a picture with words, okay? That imagery, sort of that vivid sensory details that really create a picture in words. And generally, it tells things in a time order, in a chronological order, what happened first and then second and third and so on. And usually, the last thing about this theoretically short theoretical introduction is that we generally tell a story from first person, singular or plural, from the I, for example, the pronoun I or we, and what happened, I then, and so on. So it's usually told from the first person perspective, okay? I or we, not you or he or she, okay? Alright, so what sort of transitions that we can actually use in narrative writing? Things that you are familiar with, of course. First, second, third, afterwards, then, before, soon after, as soon as, eventually, meanwhile, finally, at last, soon, and so. So all the transitions that you know that are common time transitions, that they help order, that they help arrange time, arrange events in sequence, in a chronological order. Okay? Let's do the first activity here, and what I'd like you to do is to arrange this story in the correct order. Are you able to see this? Can you see this? Yes? Yes, okay. Alright. Alright, what I'd like you to do is to arrange this story in the correct order. These are in jumbled order. Okay, let's see the first one here. A few years ago, this is the first thing, this is the first line of the story, this is the first event of this story. A few years ago, my two older brothers and I went trekking in the mountains. What is trekking? Like walking on a trip. Okay, usually a difficult trip. Okay, did you hear of Star Treks? No. Okay, that's alright. So trekking basically going on a trip. Okay, usually going up in the mountains or in the woods, and it is a very difficult trip. Okay, so please put these sentences in the correct order. And we started with this sentence. A few years ago, my two older brothers and I went trekking in the mountains. What happened then? Please put them in the correct order. Did you manage to do this? Yes, please. So the first one is a few years ago, my two older brothers and I went to trekking in the mountains. Then,
we set out from our
very nice. So it has to be number 2. D, we set out. We started from our base camp, from camp on a bright winter morning. What happened then? Yes, please. See? Soon, very nice. Soon. Very nice. Soon we were hiking through pine forest. Okay. What happened afterwards? Yes, please.
F. A little while later we stopped to eat, and my oldest brother said we should.
Excellent. Excellent. So number 4. A little while later, we stopped to eat, and my oldest brother said we should turn around because we were losing the trail in the snow. What happened then? Yes, please. H. Very nice. So going back down the mountain was harder because it was icy and slippery and we could not find the way. We became tired, cold, and thirsty. Okay? And then afterwards, please. E. Not E. G. Yes, eventually. Yes, very nice. We became it began to snow and visibility became very poor. Finally, just before finally, yes, please. B. Finally, yes. Finally, I found the muddy trail and we made it back to our base camp. And finally, the last one is E. After that experience, I realized it was important to be careful. It is important to be careful when hiking in the mountains. So this is sort of a narrative, a short story detailing what happened during my trekking in the mountain. As you can notice, there are some transitions in this paragraph. For example, a few years ago. Okay? Finally, of course, soon we were hiking. Okay? We set out as a verb. Okay, we started means. Okay, and then after that experience, okay, a little while later, okay, eventually, at the end of things, finally means, okay, and finally going back because blah, 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 blah. So what we see here are good transitions that help arrange or order things in time. Okay, they help us in ordering things in time. Okay? Alright, so when we talk about narrative paragraph writing, we have the 3 common types the 3 common elements of a good paragraph writing. We have a topic sentence, and this topic sentence generally introduces the experience, as I will see in a minute. Then we have the body sentences or the supporting sentences, and then we have, they give us the details of what happened, okay? And then we have the concluding sentence. It just gives a reflection of the writer's reflection or thoughts on the whole experience he or she is narrating. Let's see this example. For example, a UFO sighting. What is a UFO? طبق is unidentified flying objects الأطباق الطائرة المجهولة. Okay, so a UFO sighting means seeing an unidentified flying object. Let's just quickly read this paragraph and see how the narrator here, the writer, tells a story about a sighting that he or she had. Okay. And notice the transitions and the sequence of events and how the writer weaves in the different events in a cohesive way. All right, let's see. Okay, as we can see, this is a good model for a paragraph or for a narrative writing. What is the topic sentence? The first one. Okay, I never believed in aliens before one night last year. What is aliens, by the way? What is an alien? A strange, unknown sort of a creature that is coming from outer space. Okay, this is generally the meaning of an alien. I never believed in aliens before one night last year. It was a cool, dark winter evening, and I was walking home from a friend's house. I stopped to tie my shoe. When I looked up again, I saw a round object coming towards me. It was very large and shiny. Okay, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Before I could shout or run, the object suddenly moved and then disappeared. After the object disappeared, I ran all the way home and called my best friend. When she picked up the phone, I couldn't say anything. I knew she would think I was crazy. I never told anyone about my UFO sighting. So this is a short story, a short narrative, a short narrative paragraph that tells us what happened. What do you think is the function of the second sentence? It was a cold, dark winter evening, and I was walking home from a friend's house. What is the function of that? This is something to describe the place and the time. Something that you will study. It gives us something called the setting. That is to say the time and place of the story. Okay? This is what generally a story is. So the first, second sentence, or the third sentence, or the first or second paragraph generally give us the setting. Where was it happening and when was it happening? So it was a cool, dark winter evening. That's the time. And the place was, I was walking home from a friend's house. That is that place. What sort of transitions do we see here?
Time.
For example, one night.
Yes.
Okay. And then evening. But then the transitions we have when, before, after, alright, when, and so on. Okay, so these sort of arrange again the idea of arrange events in time. Is this clear? Alright, perfect. Alright. Now, when you write a story, very quickly, ask what is an important event in your life. Hold on a second, please. Basically, if you want to write a good story, a good narrative, ask yourself, what was an important event or time in your life? What has happened in my experience that I would enjoy writing about? Is there an event in my life that people would be very much interested in? Then, how did I feel about that event? Did I feel scared? Did I feel excited? Did I feel happy, satisfied, and so on? Who was involved? Who are the characters? Who are the actors in this story? Was it me? Was it a friend? Was it a mother? Was it my father? Was it someone I know? And so on. Why do I remember this event? Why do I keep bringing this up and want to write about this? What effect did it have on me? And finally, did anything change because of this experience? This is something that you would like to mention. And what is interesting, or what are interesting things or experiences do I know of that happened to other people? So these are some guiding questions that help you focus on what exactly that you want to do. Now, let's do the second activity and last activity. It's going to take some time. Then we're going to complete this story, okay? And I'm going to divide you up into different groups. So each group will work together and make up a story with the context and the situation here. So somebody is going to choose, one group is going to choose the first story, and the second group is going to choose the second story. Let's see the first one. A fright in the forest. What is a fright? Means being scared, very scared of something, being very frightened, or being very afraid or frightened of something. Let's see the situation here. I grew up in a small town in the countryside. Near my house was a large forest. and my parents told me not to play in that forest there. Okay, one day I was playing in the forest with some of my friends, some of my school friends. Suddenly I felt very cold and scared. Now you're going to continue from here, okay? And the last sentence is in this paragraph. After that day, I never went back to the forest. So you're going to make up events, all right, that complete the story, okay? And then finally we have this last sentence. After that day, I never went back to the forest. This is the second story. A strange day in class. I have been studying English for a few years and I really enjoy the classes. One day something unusual happened in class. The teacher was explaining grammar, not writing, grammar. Okay? When I saw something strange. What happened in the class? Alright, finally I heard everyone laughing. I woke up and realized it was a dream. Okay, so we need to continue the story with some events, make up some events to complete the paragraph here. Okay? Alright, now please divide yourself up into different groups, every 3 or 4 together, and we're going to make up events to complete each one of these stories. So choose 1 or 2 and write the stories. Alright? Work together and try to just come up with events to complete the story.
حسب زمن المكتوب أفضل. أنا كنت بعرف إيش بصير بالكل.
My legs slipped. It was a real ghost. After a while, I started shouting and real ghost. Okay. Was not very far. Just make sure that you read a sentence. Where the sentence begins and where the sentence ends. Because I don't see any full stops here. It's just one long paragraph, one long sentence. Okay? Teacher? Yes. Sort of that or the verse in the past. Okay? Okay, then the teacher was I tried to not try. started, not started, started.
Doctor?
There was. Okay. Just make sure that, and there was an awful monster in the forest. Then I took a step forward. Just make sure that you have the verb in the past. Then I took a step forward. This one is super thin. But I didn't
See.
Okay, very nice. Good. Finally, yes. Tiger, gorilla, started roaring Alright, let's see. Who would like to tell us their part of the story? Yes, please. Over there. Yes, please. The second one. A strange day in France. Please, quiet, please. Yes.
They looked at me and they thought that I was crazy. Until they saw the zombie. The zombie was chasing after the teacher. After I saw my classmates running to save their lives, so I ran to save the teacher. When I came near the zombie, I realized that it was my friend and we were all pranking me.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Who wrote something about a strange day in class? Yes, please. Yes, please, you. Yes, you.
I saw something.
The first one, alright. Yes, please.
I saw something strange come from me and what color it was a ghost and I feel scared, panic
And I felt very scared, okay?
Panic and I couldn't move or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
When I started to attack and defense of myself, the ghost was holding me strangling. Also, I couldn't move my hand and started shouting loudly. After that,
Venice. After that, I never went back to the forest. Venice. Just remember, you have to put all the verbs in the past tense. Yes, please.
I wrote the first one.
The first one, yes.
Suddenly I felt very cold and scared.
Uh-huh.
The trees seemed very tall, looming above me and casting shadows over everything. I was sweating a lot and panic was gathering in my stomach. I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. I froze and spun around, a scream lodging in my throat. Must be my imagination, I thought. I continued walking, trying to find a way home. After what felt like forever, I finally found a way home.
Very nice, very nice. Very good connectors and very good linking of ideas. Very nice ones, please.
Suddenly I felt very cold and
scared.
After the sunset, then a surmise came to my mind that there was an awful monster in the forest, and it has a thick and frightening sound. Then I took a step forward to see if that's real or not, but I didn't see anything. It just was a pussycat. After That day I
never went back to the forest. Okay? Alright? What I'd like you now to do now is basically go over your reading, your paragraph, and just double check on the tenses, because I noticed that some of you were using the present tense verb tense. So just make sure that all the verb tenses have to be in the past, okay, not in the present, okay? Alright. Now, just for next time, inshallah, I would like you as homework to write about any one of these 4 topics. This is your assignment for next time. So you might want to write a narrative paragraph about a recent experience or incident that happened to you or that you witnessed that left a strong impression on you. Or you want to write about an event when you were proud of someone in your family, okay? Or you want to write about a time when you had to do something against your wishes, or you want to write about the last one, a memorable experience you had or you have had, and how it could be, was it frightening or amusing or exciting. So choose any of these 4 topics and write a paragraph for next time, for next class, inshallah. Alright? Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time, inshallah.